Hi, my name's Tom Greenwood and I'm the Group CEO of Helios Towers. Your safety and well-being while working with us is top priority for our business. Today, we will be talking with you about how to safely protect yourself and your colleagues when working around the line of fire. Within Helios Towers operations, the line of fire is defined as the direction a load being lifted or maneuvered will travel if control is lost. This most commonly applies to the lifting of materials and equipment when constructing towers, generator handling, and the erection of electrical poles. By the end of this film, we want you to be able to identify where the line of fire is before starting work, ensure that all team members understand where the line of fire is located, understand which controls are necessary in order to avoid personnel being placed in the line of fire, and to ensure that all colleagues understand how to carry out their work activities without placing themselves in the line of fire. Please can I ask that you give this film your full attention, because it's only with your continued commitment in safeguarding this risk that we will be able to offset the likelihood of yourself or your colleagues being harmed in line of fire related incidents.
Hi everyone, I'm Will Richardson-White, Head of Health, Safety and Quality with Helios Towers. Today, we'd like to talk to you about a review that we recently undertook looking at our major significant occupational injuries over the last 8 years. One of the common themes we saw coming out of this review was the fact that we had qualified supervisions with the right tools and equipment to undertake the job that were still setting their employees, personnel and casual labour specifically to work in the line of fire, placing them in harm's way.
It is our understanding that the term line of fire is not well managed or understood by our workforce. And it is our intention through this video, it will provide the necessary information around this topic so that we can offset similar incidents from occurring in the future.
Line of fire is essentially the direction or pathway a load will travel when it's being maneuvered or lifted and control is lost. Within the Helios Towers operational environment, this is manifested in 4 key areas. The first is when we are lifting material to height. This normally happens when we are actually building a tower for the first time or strengthening a tower. The line of fire will be directly beneath the suspended load. Secondly, is all around generator handling. Generators are an inherently unstable bit of equipment, principally due to the fact that they are top heavy, and when being maneuvered, the fuel tank is inherently empty. Generator handling comes in 2 key forms. First of all, when it is being lifted on or off a vehicle, and secondly is when it is being maneuvered from its laydown area next to a vehicle to its final resting position on site, often up steep or inclined slopes. And finally, we have the line of fire risks surrounding the erection of electrical posts, which are generally about 13 meters long and up to half a ton in weight. It is our hope that by the end of this video, you will have sufficient knowledge to be able to both identify the line of fire, make sure you have the right interface tools to allow your personnel to work safely around energized loads, to have briefed your staff on where the line of fire is and how to use those interface tools, and finally to make sure that nobody touches an energized load while in motion. Within Helios Towers, there are a number of activities specific to our operations where we experience significant line of fire risks. The first of these is the mechanical handling of generators on and off vehicles at our sites. When the generator is being raised or lowered from a truck, the generator handling activity becomes a lifting operation with a line of fire zone directly beneath the generator being maneuvered. In situations where there have been no taglines available to keep personnel outside of the line of fire, we have seen workers directly placing their hands onto the generator itself to ensure it's correctly aligned. Clearly, this places these personnel directly in harm's way of the line of fire should control of the generator be lost. The manual handling of generators on and off trucks presents one of the greatest line of fire hazards within our operations. In this scenario, the fuel tank of the generator is normally empty, and as such the load is extremely top heavy, presenting a significant toppling risk within the line of fire to either side of the generator itself. This is further compounded by the lack of rigidity within the steel skids that are used to ramp generators on and off the transporting vehicle. This means that anyone not using taglines and directly placing their hands on the generator being manoeuvred is at significant risk of coming to harm in the line of fire. There may be occasions within Helios operations where there is insufficient road access for the vehicles transporting our generators to gain direct access to the site itself. In these circumstances, the generator may need to be manoeuvred over uneven and inclined surfaces, presenting a significant line of fire toppling risk either side of the generator. When undertaking this activity, consideration should be given in the risk assessment to both the condition of the terrain and the distance the generator needs to be manoeuvred to ensure all personnel are kept safely out of the line of fire. Lifting and rigging, particularly when building or maintaining our towers, presents one of the most obvious line of fire risks within Helios towers. This is not only from the suspended load being lifted, but also from potential dropped objects being used by the rigging team, such as spanners, nuts and bolts. Due to the high elevation of our towers, the exclusion zone within the line of fire can be considerably more dispersed than it may appear at face value. Particular consideration should be given to where the load may land should it hit the tower structure when falling from height. The manual erection of electrical posts would appear to be a relatively straightforward activity, but it is in fact one of the greatest line of fire risks across the Helios operation. Measuring in at over 10 meters in length and weighing approximately 1 ton, this activity, if managed incorrectly, has the greatest potential to place large numbers of personnel into the line of fire while being undertaken. Of all the line of fire related activities undertaken within Helios towers, this activity requires the largest amount of specialist equipment and competent personnel to be undertaken safely. As such, this activity should always be conducted mechanically wherever possible. It is our hope that you will now have sufficient appreciation of the line of fire risks across Helios Towers operations, such that these can be managed to ensure that you keep yourself and your colleagues out of harm's way. Always remember that before undertaking an activity involving line of fire risks, to prep and check with the following steps. Firstly, make sure loads are handled mechanically wherever possible. Secondly, always identify where the line of fire is located. Thirdly, ensure an approved rigging plan is always in place before work commences. Then, check that there are the appropriate interface tools, such as taglines, to keep all personnel outside of the line of fire while the load is being manoeuvred. And finally, ensure all team personnel are competent and adequately briefed. Remember, casual labour are not permitted to undertake line of fire related activities. When undertaking line of fire related activities, such as generator relocation and electrical post erection, always remember: 1. It is never acceptable for you or your colleagues to place your hands on an energised load. 2. You are fully authorised to stop work if it is unsafe to carry on. By following these simple but essential rules, you will be able to make sure that these safety critical activities are managed in both a safe and professional manner. Should you have any questions regarding this film, please reach out to your local SHEC representative, who will be happy to help provide any clarification that may be required. Thanks for watching.